I am a retired secretary who worked for the Oyster Bay East Norwich schools for 30 years. I have a question I would like to address to Mrs. Kowalski as president of the Board of Education regarding the layoff of 2 members of the grounds crew. In the budget line items, the salaries for the grounds crew is listed as $270,095 for the crew that had previously been 4 people. As of July 1st, there will only be 1 remaining groundskeeper. Will he receive that amount as salary, or will the budget amount be changed? In my day, although the secretaries and custodians were the lowest paid employees of the district, we took great pride in our work. Look around you at this room. This building was built in 1929. It gleams because it is well maintained by a dedicated custodial crew. The lawns and trees outside are maintained by a dedicated grounds crew. With only 1/4 of the staff, who will cut the lawns? Who will get out of bed on a snowy night at 3:30 a.m. to plow the parking lots? Who will pick up band instruments, saxophones, tubas, bass drums, snare drums, carefully arrange them in the truck to prevent damage and drive them to another building or to another district, and load them again carefully, then reverse the process when the performance is over? It's your grounds crew that does that. At Thanksgiving, who will load the trucks with hundreds of pounds of donated food and transport it to the designated drop-off point for the community food drive? Repeat this process again with toys at Christmas time. That's your grounds crew. The groundskeepers take great pride in maintaining the athletic fields and seeing they are properly striped for each game, so our teams have the best facilities possible. The grass will keep growing. The snow will keep falling. Who deals with them is up to you. A few years back, when for the first time the district was going to have to hire security guards, the residents of Oyster Bay and East Norwich let it be known that they preferred that the district hired their own rather than using an outside agency. If you are considering using outside landscapers, I urge you to reconsider. Reconsider your position and reinstate Mr. Paramus and Mr. Cariaga to the grounds crew. Thank you.
Yeah. That's right.
Groundskeeper.
Beekeeper. So the abolishment of the position is just the abolishment of the current position that we have. The plan is to restructure, and the answer is no, there will not be just one groundskeeper.
Where did it come
So
from?
where they coming from?
Ms. Longo?
No,
So thank you for that. So I don't remember, and I've looked back since where you guys decided and discussed in public, based on the sunshine laws, what you were doing to reorganize the grounds crews. You can't just sit there and take, as Mrs. Burke said, $270,000 out of the budget and rechange it without notification or public discussion, so that every person in this community can hear what you as a board are discussing, can understand where you're saving the money or spending the money elsewhere, and can understand where we and all the people who live in this community who voted every single one of you in, and who allowed you to hire a superintendent and run this school district, you basically still answer to the community. So where, in what meeting did you people openly discuss the reorganization of the grounds crew? We have 53 acres of land 4 people have immaculately taken care of this project. And $270,000, you are not even getting a person to come here and plow this place for $270,000. I also would like to know that how are you gonna hire somebody legally to do the work that the grounds crew did? You cannot replace those people, and these people cannot come in and do the same identical work. So I'm a little concerned and a little perplexed on how I continually come to board meetings and watch, and board meeting business is not being held in public so we all can hear it. You're not discussing what's going into this budget and what's changing in our schools in public, so we can hear it, so we as taxpayers can understand where our money's going. And this is just a perfect example. One day, we see the grounds crews are gone. Well, what have you done? What is the numbers? Where are you saving them? Are you doing it for cost savings? Are you doing it because it was inefficiently done? I mean, I think we have the right to know. So I would like an explanation, and I would like to know when, based on the sunshine law, you people discuss this in public.
I'm just going to answer in the order that I see it. The first thing is, unfortunately, you're making the assumption, which I understand the frustration, that you're making the assumption that we are moving forward with one ground person. So to answer your question, we're not entertaining an outside agency. All we're doing right now is making sure that the district remains in top conditions. So, guys, you gotta understand that she asked the question, and I'm trying to answer, so.
We'll circle back to that, right, bro?
Dr. Yomi, I didn't ask the question. I wanna know what we are doing, what the Board of Education.
Let me finish, and then if I didn't answer, then we come back again, and you ask more questions. So, right now, the assumption that we are moving forward with one crew is not correct. We are working with civil service, and first step is the abolishment of the position that we have on the agenda tonight. The next step is, if the board approves the resolution, is to go back to the civil service, request a classification of position, which deals with the position, the title, what we are allowed to hire, and they would also let us know who is entitled to the new positions that we are creating. The other thing, which is very important, is the fact that we are not talking about elimination, we are talking about a structuring of the system that we have in place. And that is the same thing that we have been doing for the past 4 years with administrators, with supervisors. We have been restructuring to efficiently manage the district. When it comes to information that is related to personnel, we are not discussing that in public, but what I can assure you that we have been working with civil service. We have been following the law, we will continue to follow the law, and we will make sure that at the end of the day, if the board will approve the resolution, which they have an option tonight to approve or not approve it, we will go back to civil service and we will request the position that we need to request to properly and efficiently run the district.
So my question is, when was this discussed, and for what reason does the Board of Education feel that after 50 years, we need to restructure the grounds crews and go back to civil service and refill out positions? So do we end there? Do we restructure the cleaners in the building? Is that what we do? And when was it discussed in public, is my question.
The resolution is presented to the board tonight.
That's not my question.
I'm
I
trying to answer your
understand you're
question.
taking a resolution, Dr.
option to discuss if they choose so. But what I'm telling you is that at this point, the position, the restructuring of the position is part of my duties if I decide to recommend to the board.
So you on your own decided to restructure without a discussion with the Board of Education? Is that my understanding of what you are saying here? And that tonight is the discussion with the Board of Education about a decision you on your own made?
My recommendation tonight is provided in the agenda with the resolution, but what I'm telling you is that there are certain items that I am allowed to discuss in executive session with the board, not in public.
I'm not talking about an individual person or people. I'm talking about the Board of Education discussing changing a function of this district and how we've worked for years. And we as the public deserve to understand what you people are doing behind closed doors. You're not discussing this in public. And I beg to differ, Dr. Yanni, that you can come and make a decision and change something without the support of the Board of Education and the discussion prior to you moving forward. And I would hope that this Board of Education and your president of your Board of Education sitting there understands that. So I am asking again, when this was publicly discussed, and for what reason? Are we saving money? Are we hiring new people? Or is the district just moving to get rid of supervisors?
The hope is that we're hiring new people and that we are creating a more efficient system.
Wrong.
In terms of
Because
it was
it's the
discussed at the time that it was discussed in executive session.
Wait a minute, but you cannot talk is it that in executive session, people are talking about reorganizing and restructuring the grounds crew out of individual people? I mean, unfortunately, we're a small district, so if we're gonna restructure an English department, we're unfortunately talking about one person, okay? But when you're talking about restructuring the grounds crew, that discussion should be had in public.
So you've been a board president,
Yes,
so I'm
I
sure
did.
you do understand what I'm about to tell you. In this particular case, when you have one supervisor and you're talking about restructuring, indirectly, you're talking about the one person in the executive session that is related to personnel that cannot be discussed in public, but indirectly, the two things are together. If I had a department that had 25 people and I'm restructuring, it could be a potential discussion in public because we're talking about restructuring. Here, we're talking about the restructuring and there's only one person that holds that position.
So individually, you're talking about this technically is about one, maybe two people, since it's affecting two people. You're not restructuring a department. You're not saving the district money. Are you saving the district money? Is this why you're doing this? Are you changing the grounds thing because you're saving the district money? I'm just really confused over all of this.
I'm trying to clarify as much as I can.
Well, that was on the letter, that they were trying to save you some money.
The efficiency is driving the decision. The fact that we're saving some money is a consequence, but the efficiency is what drives the decision of my recommendation.
It's a shame that board business to this magnitude is not discussed in public. And that the Board of Education is sitting there and allowing this to happen and continually happen. And that we are
But I gotta tell you one thing. I'll give you, but I gotta tell you one thing. For you to come up here and tell that we should be ashamed of what is going on, where we're trying to do what's best for the district, I think it is an insult to my board that works day and night.
I don't understand that disgraceful, but the public has the right to know. We have the right to watch. We have the right to listen to discussions. We have the right to understand what's going on in our districts, okay? And I think it's time that this town wakes up and sees what's going on.
72. And to do what you're doing, it's impossible to run a landscaping crew, a grounds crew, with one person. Termination letters were sent out prior. You had that in print on the agenda that you're terminating, you're firing these two people. How is that possible without cause? How is that possible? Are you guys gonna shovel? Are you gonna plow? Will you donate $237,000 of your salary to support them? I doubt it. So, welcome to Oyster Bay. I never met you. I finally had a chance to meet you. I'm President, you, Kowalski. But these guys have done a great job. And to think that one person is gonna cut all the grass, salt all the sidewalks, and plow everything, I think you really gotta consider what you voted on, or did not vote on, as far as I can tell. But the letter's been sent, and it's in that agenda. And if it's your personal decision, that's not right. That's all I got to say.
If you're worried about me.
It will not be just one groundsman.
Three.
We're working with civil service, there will not be one ground. We will go back to civil service, announce the position,
For
and
what
hire
position?
the
So you're not
appropriate people to
reconstructing?
run the district.
You're gonna rename the title and give it to someone else.
So is it that we can hire any?
It's a sham.
We are not,
Landscape company or anything like that?
we are not
It's a sham.
considering, and we're now hiring an outside agency.
I would like to apply, what's the civil service that's gonna be on the?
To hire people that are part of the civil service department. So we're not hiring an outside agency to come and cut the grass or plow the snow or anything. We are posting the position and we'll rehire the people under a different structure.
What does this do for morale? How does this affect every other custodian in the unit, every other cleaner in the unit that now walks to work every day scared for their jobs? Because they think it's gonna be them next in the interest of efficiency, when you and I both know it's personal.
Am I supposed to?
You and I both know it.
Is there a chance for you to be reinstated? Or no?
We will work with civil service. Once a position is posted, anybody is more than welcome to apply.
Is that legal? Can a civil servant come in and do the same exact job?
He's gonna rename the
Is
title.
it, no, I'm not looking at what you call it. Is it legal, are you and the Board of Education opening up this district?
Ms. Longo, if you have a question, I'm really not entertaining you.
I'll take this, maybe after
Yeah, it's okay, you have the time, so
Is that legal? Do you know?
I'm not sure what the question is.
Why is it
because-
a laborer?
To change the title in civil servant, okay, and have the new person do the same identical job that the old person did.
I am not stating that. What I'm saying is that step number one would be to abolish the position. Let me ask, for efficiency.
Is it not getting done? Is it not getting done?
But they don't, you know, like, I understand what you're saying. Board of Education acting and this
God
government.
forbid he makes too much money.
Sending out letters to abolish a position before a Board of Education even took action on it. So you're acting and they're reacting, is that how this goes?
So it sounds
Because
like.
this is, you're hiring 2-3 people to do the identical job that people have done for 25 years.
Good people.
And you people are coming here and saying.
Good people.
First of all, you're putting words in my mouth. All I'm saying is that we are abolishing, proposing the abolishment of the supervisor position and the labor, and I'm going back to civil service and requesting a for efficiency.
What happened, you have a cousin that needs a job?
On how you can hire, oh no, but you know, the way you can hire somebody to come in and do the identical job that these 3 people did, 1 quit, 2 were let go for efficiency. And you're gonna go back to civil service and you're gonna hire these 3 people for efficiency because the jobs were done poorly, incorrectly.
So I think that would be something that we can't discuss. right?
Okay, okay,
But the question is, can you go back to civil service and civil service will require who gets what jobs? Is that how it works?
Under what name?
So it's not.
Under a new title.
I would like to apply for the job. What do I apply for when I go to civil service?
So, Mrs. Kowalski, just to clarify for the community, those sitting here and those listening, your superintendent made a decision for efficiencies, fired 2 people, taking an agenda item 3 weeks later, and now you guys are gonna discuss whether you're gonna take action on that efficiency after the fact?
So just so you know, the way civil service will work is that we are proposing the restructure to civil service. Then at that point, they give us the clearance to go ahead and propose the abolishment to the board. The decision is not official until the board will approve the resolution.
I
And
understand.
then after that, at that point, once the resolution is approved by the board, we will go back to civil service, confirm that the resolution was approved by the board, and request the new titles. In the event, like you're stating, in the event that I would mistakenly go to the civil service and request the same position, the people that are excess are entitled to that position by law. They don't have to interview, they don't have to do anything. So for example, if I go back tomorrow to civil service, and I said to civil service, I decide that based on my restructure that I recommend to the board, I would need a groundkeeper and a laborer. They would, at that point, tell us who are the people who would be rehired to that position, number 1. Number 2, when we go to civil service, we don't tell the people we are just talking about position, but unfortunately, with one position in place, automatically people will make that connection. But it is civil service that dictates how we are moving forward.
Again, the question, and it's here, is.
Why were the letters sent out before the board was
You are
notified?
now just hearing about this, and you guys are taking action. This is the first time that this was discussed in public prior to any action being taken. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't see how that falls in line with the sunshine.
I understand, but you understand the law, that in terms of executive session, the board and the superintendent have the right to discuss personnel matter in executive session.
Absolutely, but this is not a matter of personnel. This is a matter of
I disagree.
restructuring the grounds crews. And I don't know, I guess you and I would debate this, or maybe New York State school boards would know better, which is the better way to do it, since all the meetings are publicized and taped. Maybe we should ask them, but at the end of the day, you took an action, and now you're discussing it with the board, I find that strange.
First of all, I'm recommending.
No,
first
you
of all,
took an action.
But
You sent the letter out.
but let's be clear for the record. So since it's recorded, let's be clear for the record. First thing is that I did not take an action. I recommended a resolution that I presented to the board, number 1. Number 2, the position, the people on the job, they're still on the job until June 30th. And if I made a mistake, if I recommended something that is not right or is against the law, civil service will come back to me and say, Tatiani, you're wrong. you have to reinstate X, Y, and Z to the position. And I disagree with you that as you know, I am allowed to discuss in executive session a personnel matter, and it's not fair to discuss it in public.
I'm not talking about person.
That's some of people's lives, they got families, bro.
And to be honest, I think what you're explaining to us here is that you are now going to civil service after you've taken action, after you've sent letters out, after you acted, not taken action, I correct myself, after you acted, you're gonna now discuss it with your Board of Ed, and now you're gonna go to civil service to find out that what you're doing is correct and not illegal and we can't be sued for it?
That's not what I said. What I said is
What it
that
sounds like.
the civil service, we proposed to the civil service to restructure. They give us all the details. Once it's approved by the Board of Education, we have to go back to civil service and tell them that there was a resolution that was approved by the board. So,
Why can't you table the resolution until you find out from CSEA whether what you're doing is illegal?
because my recommendation to the board tonight is to restructure the positions, and I believe that that will be a more efficient system.
So they got the letter.
Will civil service tell you what to do now? Like, can you give them a?
Yes, they will.
Where's the civil service lawyer to ask them?
Civil service will not discuss anything in a hypothetical situation. Therefore, any new classification position, whatever title it may be,
Yeah,
civil service
title.
will not give us a decision on that until the abolishment is approved. Once it's approved, we can then submit a classification for a position. At that time, civil service will then turn around and say to us, either a person on a preferred eligibility list is required to hold that position, a person on a classified competitive title is supposed to hire this, or you can hire from the outside based on that. We put a classification of position into civil service. They will then tell us, but they will not tell us anything hypothetical. Unfortunately, it's just the nature of how the Nassau County Civil Service works. So they will not give us anything hypothetical. So tabling this resolution does not answer any questions.
It also, as the Board of Education, I implore you guys to stop and think about what you're doing here. Because I think that what's been done here, on many reasons, have been done unfair. And that you people were not notified of what was going on, and that you're not discussing it in public. And we have the right to know what's going on with our districts, especially when it comes to grounds crew and stuff like that. I mean, it's forget that it's 2 or 3 people that this is affecting. You have top lawyers here that I know work for civil service, and I know work to protect civil service people. So you could definitely ask them the questions, but the way I see it, this whole entire process was done backwards, and I'm not sure myself if this is telling me that this is how things are done around here. And I question it because I'm a taxpayer.
Does the board have any questions?
Mind blowing.
I would just confirm, in order to move ahead with the restructure, the first step is the abolishment of the positions.
Vote no.
And then moving or consulting civil service again to see what they would allow going forward.
That is correct. The first step in the restructuring of the whole structure is to abolish the positions that we have presented tonight, that I have recommended tonight. And the next step is to go to civil service, confirm the resolution that passed, if it passed, and then at that point, civil service will give us direction in if we decide to hire people in new positions.
What did the lawyers say? Is the question, answer to the question.
So when you do civil service, and which is crazy things, if you wanted to restructure, you have to go to civil service abolish a position, and then you have to go back to civil service. They won't tell you before you abolish the position. What you can do. But then after you abolish the position, then they tell you what you can do.
Legally.
So there are several areas of civil service. There is a placement unit, which will determine if there is a, let's say, a campus of somebody in competitive title. There's several areas of civil service that we work with. There's no one person in civil service that discusses the whole process. So there is a classifications unit, which determines what positions are appropriate for a school district to hold and what class that's in, whether it's an exempt class, a competitive class, a non-competitive title, or laborer title. They determine whether or not you can have that position, whether you can have one of those positions, 5 of those positions, or none of those positions. Once that gets approved, that unit then turns it over to then the placement unit. They say, okay, if it's a competitive title like many of our clerical positions are, they give us a list and say, here's your certified list of eligible candidates and the scores they received, and then we have to follow that. If there's somebody in a preferred eligibility list, they will say, this person is entitled to that position. Before you go to the outside, you must hire off the preferred eligibility list. Then there's another unit called municipal transactions, which allows us to then make a personal action. At that time, if we have a person we want to put into one of those vacant positions, we submit an application which lists their qualifications. If they meet the minimum qualifications, then civil service will approve that person. So until the position on the table for tonight is abolished, the first unit will not even discuss additional placement of positions. Because of the size of the district and how many buildings we have, we cannot ask for another one until this one has been abolished. Then the recommendation of a new position for the district, whatever title that may be, can then be requested.
That's
A
all.
laborer does the work. Why would you abolish the laborer?
Don't you have lawyers, Mrs. Kowalski, I've only been gone 8 years, they were top legal lawyers for CSEA that would answer your questions. Wouldn't this board be best, before they took action, to ask your lawyers in public at the next meeting what we are opening our district up to lawsuits before we do this?
First of all, I'm hoping that you folks.
Well, maybe you should stop
Rely
hoping
on
and you
that,
should
but-
do it.
Discussions between some attorneys.
What are you doing as a Board of Education before this is happening, that you're allowing your superintendent to do what is rightfully your job as a Board of Education to clarify?
We've restructured the school district in a lot of different ways throughout the entire school district. The Dr. Wayne's restructured. So
Yeah, we've
this
seen that.
is part of it. And he's come up with a recommendation here for a resolution for us to approve or not tonight.
But how does he send a letter before you get your approval?
Yeah, how is that
How
even
did
a
you-
Well,
possibility?
if you don't approve, then obviously the letter is not.
But then you're fired.
Why
Why would I want to work in finance? Bring me back?
I got a letter, don't worry. It is very typical, if not common in all cases, where an employee is notified of a pending action of the board. It is including for all new hires that are presented with an offer letter, it's always saying it's contingent upon board approval, that whether it's a new
That's a
hire,
new hire.
a change in position,
So
whether
these
it's
numbers that
possible.
go up, I'll say it was contingent on the board.
They say the recommendation will be made on a board agenda, at the next board agenda, and usually it has the date in there. So it's for all HR items, whether it's hiring, changing positions, recommending a maternity leave, any sort of action that you see on the board. The employee is notified before the agenda goes public. The employee has the right to understand what recommendation will be made before it's open to the public. So it's very typical for an employee to receive that letter at least a week ahead of time of the board agenda, so they understand what action the board will be
Fire
taking.
section, maybe.
Individual vote.
Individual
vote.
vote.
No, individual vote. Everyone down the line, individual vote. Show your support, individual vote down the line. Every board.
Let's move on to our instructional personnel.
Let's stay where we're at.
Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education of Oyster Bay East Norwich Central School District, that approve the instructional personnel items as listed in their entirety. Do I have a motion? Second. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Let's move on to approval of non-instructional personnel items. Resolved upon the recommendation of superintendent of schools, the Board of Education of the Oyster Bay East Norwich Central School District hereby approves the non-instructional personnel items as listed in their entirety. Do I have a motion? Second. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.